Hello, in this video I'm going to demonstrate the setup of an FTP server. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. So using an FTP server, you can either upload complete files or download files from a remote server. Many of the files that we download from the internet today, sometimes programs or photos, whatever the case may be, things that are not necessarily embedded in a web page may actually be stored on an FTP server. So we are going to set that up now, and I'm going to be using the FileZilla server. So I've already downloaded it, and I'm going to run the install now. So it's downloading. It was just a starter. It's downloaded it from the site, and we're going to run the install. Going to agree to the terms and use the default settings, and we're going to continue with the install. And the server address of this machine, we're going to use the loopback address. Okay, great. So we are now logged in. And we're now going to create users. So we're going to add a user. And we'll give the user a password. Very simple password. We are going to create a shared directory. So we're going to add and I'm just going to use my download folder as my shared folder. And click OK. So we should now be able to connect to our server, at least locally. So we can do this one of two ways. I can either use a client or I can use the browser. So first off, I'm going to use the option FTP and I'm going to use the loopback address. And it's going to prompt me for my username and password, so I'm going to enter that, the one that I created. And there we go. I can access it locally. I could also choose to use the actual IP address of this particular machine. So I can say and again I enter the port number. FTP uses port 21 as the standard. So once again, it's going to prompt me, and I'm going to enter my credentials. And once again, we have access to it. Now, this is all fine if I'm using this on my local network, but if I wanted to make this available externally, then I'm going to have to do a couple more things. First of all, I'm going to have to go into my router and allow this particular port to be pointed to this machine, so that any incoming requests from the internet will be, the router will direct it to this particular FTP server. So my start port will be 21 and my end port will also be 21, because we don't want to give too much of a range and allow options for people to come in on any port that is just left open unnecessarily. So I'm entering the address of this particular machine, and I'm going to use both protocols and enable, and I'm going to click OK. Great. So now I should have external access. Now the next thing that I want to do is that I also want to run, given that I'm running this server from a home network, I also want to be able to run this. If I want to access it to the from the internet, I will constantly have to know what my external IP address is at any given point in time. Now, one way around that is to use a dynamic DNS service. So in this case, what I'm going to do is that I am going to go into, I've already set up an account with a service called NoIP. So I've also downloaded their client, which I'm going to run. This is the updater client. So I'm going to run this. I'm going to install it. Now what this client does is that it constantly looks for the external IP address of your machine and it updates it to your account. So I'm going to enter my credentials here. Okay, so I'm going to now edit my hosts, and here is one that I set up, and save, and it has now updated my host. So what should happen now is that I should be able to access this FTP service from outside of my network. So once again, I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to go to my hosts, and I'm also going to enter my port number. Okay, so that didn't work, so I just need to troubleshoot this for a moment and verify where I went wrong. Great, so now after an extensive period of troubleshooting, I was finally able to determine that even though the service was not able to be displayed using my remote address or my external address within my network, it appears that there is some issue with either my router or some other source that prevents both FTP and web services from running within my internal network. However, if I do use an external machine I am in fact successfully able to connect successfully to view any services, and that includes my FTP server. So once again, I'm going to attempt doing it here. And here we go. This is from an external machine, and this is using my remote address. And if I were to also load up my web browser, my remote web browser, here we go. We can see very clearly that it shows correctly, even though it does not appear to want to show within my network. As you can see, it continues to fail, and one of the reasons when we run the diagnostics, it says that the connection is being refused. So that is an issue that needs to be resolved. However, the FTP server is in fact functional, as well as the web service. Thank you very much, and look forward to you viewing another video with me. Bye.